Chapter 4. A strange sound awakened him. He had been sleeping hard, dreaming of all things, about Kaigwadash and Beauty Mark. And at first his body did not want to come up into consciousness. But so much of him was tuned out to reacting to odd things. A line that didn't belong where it was. A sound that should not be there. An odd color or smell. He had almost gone crazy on his last visit back to civilization. Sirens and stink of smoke and bangs, and rattling noises. It had all meshed together and desensitized him to the point where he had heard nothing because it was so overwhelming. Here now, every odd sound or color or line or smell meant something. He had watched wolves hunting. Once they would trot or walk along and stop every few feet and look out and smell and listen. And they checked out everything. And little rustle in the grass and soft whisper of sound every second. And now here he lay, awake, knowing only that a strange noise had cut him out of sleep, but not what sound or where it had come from. And he had opened his mouth to clear his ears, and held his breath, and waited, listening. The night was perfectly still. The temperature had dropped so that he had, without wakening, pulled his unzipped bag over the top of him to stay warm. And it was cool enough that even the odd mosquito had gone down, and it was so quiet he had heard his heart beating in his ears, but no other sound. The moon was half full and seemed so close to touch, and made it so bright the lake around him could be easily seen. The canoe rode softly on the slick water, the little anchor still holding well. Nothing wrong there. He sat up a bit, nothing on the shore that he could see. Of course it was far enough yet, and a good 100 yards. That evening, with the bright moon, he might not see something small. But no, nothing, no sound, not even bugs, not even a loon. And yet he was awake. Why? He trusted his instincts implicitly. Here in the bush, and he knew there had to have been something big and little thing. The dream was not enough to wake him. There had to be some outside influence involved, but he could hear or see nothing. Wait, there, a sound. What was it? Very soft, so that he could just barely hear it. And there again, soft whimpering. A whine. A soft whimpering whine, the way a dog might sound, if it was begging or injured. A dog? Now he sat and scoured the bank, but could see nothing. A coyote, perhaps. Brush wolf, as they called them up north. Or maybe a timber wolf. 2 wolves, one begging from the other. He had a small monocular in his backpack. Binoculars were too heavy, but there were times when he wanted to see things from a distance without disturbing them. He was especially interested in the eagle nest on many of the lakes, because he wanted to see the young. But didn't want to get too close to them. He took out the binocular and studied the lake shore. It was only 8 power, but it pulled in a lot of extra light from the moon, and he broke the shoreline down into sections to try to see the wolf or coyote. Maybe it was a fox. There couldn't be a dog out there, could there? He saw nothing on the first sweep. He looked at the moon and was thinking it was probably 2 or 3 in the morning, and perhaps he should just accept that it was a coyote or wolf, or maybe even a small bear, and get some more sleep when he heard it again. Not louder, but somehow more persistent, perhaps a little longer in duration. He started with another sweep and was halfway through his swing, carefully studying the shoreline, foot by foot. But when he came to this area, he had made a fire and cooked the northern, and then he saw it. By the log he had lain back after eating, there was a shape. not moving, just sitting or hulking. Not a coyote, but certainly not as big as a wolf. A dark shape that might be a small bear. There are many bears in the bush. Blacks, some of them colored blacks, and worthy of much respect. They had had a couple of run-ins. One with the bear that he had come close to shooting. Another with the bear that had tried to move into his winter shelter and had been driven off by a skunk. But this didn't look quite like a bear either. Now it moved, stood slowly, and he saw that it had 4 legs, was slightly larger than a coyote, had a shiny patch on its shoulder, and unless he was completely sane, it was almost assuredly a dog. Out here, and looking at Brian across the water wing, whimpering. Well, he thought just that. Well, I might as well go see what it wants. He sat up, completely awake, fetched another anchor line from the bow rope, and pulled the little grapnel up and paddled toward shore. Closed off, stopped 40 feet from the bank, 60 from the dog, and studied it again. Rabies was a very real disease, and while it usually killed the infected animal before they could go far or do much damage, he didn't want to get torn up or killed if the dog was rabid. He used the monocle again, even this close, because it gathered so much light, and scrutinized the animal. But he had paddled in the dog, had come closer. Almost done, to the shore to meet him, but it moved poorly and seemed to the favor on his right side. Brian held the scope on it to see what was wrong. It was most certainly a dog. You could see it. It was a female, even in the dark. A nondescript kind of dark male, Malamute, across that the Crees sometimes. He added their camps to pull sleds in the winter, or pack in the summer. They were not so much sled dogs as just camp dogs and companions that pulled sleds when necessary, and this one seemed friendly enough, wanting to greet him. The dog had that shiny place on her shoulder, but otherwise its coat was a dark brown. And then she turned and saw Brian, Brian saw the shiny spot better and realized that the dog had been wounded in some way, perhaps in a fight, and there was a slash that started just at the top of her right shoulder. It went down and back at an angle, almost to her rear end. It had blood all the way down it, and much of the blood had clotted, but in the moonlight, Brian could see the shine of the fresh blood. Oh man, Brian said loud, his voice almost startling him because he spoke so rarely. What's in God's name happened to you? The dog whimpered him again in a sound that seemed dogs reserved just for talking to humans, a soft-spoken sound, a soul sound, and Brian dug the paddle in and slipped up upon the shore to help.